Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. And from the title, depending on whether you are, on whichever side you're on, this could be good news or bad news for you. So PSA has acquired Beckett, and they made an announcement I think yesterday on the December 15th. So in this video, I just want to give my unfiltered thoughts as a casual collector slash investor, who's rather new to the hobby. As you can tell from my subscriber count, it's not a lot. I don't hold any influence at all. I don't vend. I don't own a store with partners or have a large capital behind me where I can buy up cards or scalp, to buy up whole collections actually, and then sort of influence the market. I'm not a finance bro who made a killing in traditional finance or crypto and then or NFTs and then coming over to the collectibles market to park my cash somewhere and then do a pump and dump scheme to hopefully make more money. I do want to disclose also that I am into this hobby to, of course, collect because I love One Piece and possibly other trading card games if I also get into them. But for now, it's mostly One Piece. I also hold some sealed products where I hopefully can flip them in the future for some profit to ideally fund this hobby, so I don't have to. I just want to put out there that this is who I am. This is all going to be my perspective as, I would say, the average person who is in this hobby also as well and who may have concerns. So I just want to give some of these thoughts. So a little bit more about the deal is more or less that PSA has just bought up Beckett and pretty much all its IP surrounding, whatever Beckett has. So for the most part, from what I've researched, it's the black labels, the upgrades, the magazines, I think some sort of like media arm also as well. And they also have the Beckett price guide. So that's essentially what the deal is. And to add on to that, so prior to this deal, many people had a lot of concerns because PSA was pretty much the one and true grading company that anyone could go for because they had the highest liquidity, which means you are able to buy and sell your cards more easily than if you graded with your card, even at a higher grade with another company. So that's number one. Now, adding on to this acquisition, this further, solidifies their hold on the market. And don't forget, Collectors, which is the parent company of PSA, not only now own BGS Beckett, they also own SGC. That essentially brings up Collectors' market share to about 80%, from what I've read, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it. So right now, the only one true independent entity is basically CGC. And even if you grade cards with CGC, that they don't have the liquidity in the market as compared to PSA and now BGS also as well. That's going to cause a lot of concerns and make a lot of people very unhappy. On the other hand, you have a bunch of different influencers. There are large influencers also as well who owns card stores or large chains all over the world and have contracts or ties or being a PSA partner. And being a partner essentially allows them to submit cards for grading at a huge discount. So if you think about it, this is essentially how a lot of card stores make most of their money. Okay, I don't really know because I don't own a card store, but from what I can see is that's how they're making bank, because depending on how much volume they send out of trading cards all the time going through, if someone goes through a store, the amount of volume makes them a lot of money compared to sealed products where it's being controlled by distributors and scalpers also as well. So for the most part, these people aren't really going to speak out or speak badly or say what they truly want to say because they pretty much have an incentive to get in their good books. So for all you know, there might be behind the scenes dealings or secret under the table deals where they get higher graded cards with all their submissions. So this might affect PSA, this might affect BGS, and yeah, so they're not going to say much about this, and they're not going to push to their audience to say that, oh, you shouldn't grade with PSA and then now you shouldn't grade with BGS. And they're going to tell you, oh, this is a good thing, there's nothing to be worried about. Because for one, they have a bunch of graded cards already, and a large amount of their capital is stuck in those graded cards. And if they want to have the liquidity to eventually offload those cards in the future, you want to speak highly about this deal and grading for that matter. Also, from what I've read, BGS was actually suffering financially. So this buyout came at a good time for BGS because, the parent company Collectors of PSA, who essentially helped fund BGS and hopefully make them succeed again. But at the same time, suffering financially only, subjected them to a buyout because they are desperate. To PSA, it's probably just a small amount of money, relatively speaking, to acquire BGS to actually take out a major competitor. So now let's talk a little bit about the bear case. So issue number one would be obviously pricing manipulation. So that's not to say that's not already happening, because I honestly personally think that it already is, as shown in the market and its prices. But now with the acquisition of Beckett, I don't see collectors or PSA having any incentive to control their prices anymore. They can essentially double their prices right now, and majority of people would still pay to grade their cards. So I wouldn't say card grading is a scam, but it kind of feels like it right now at this stage of the game. So as it is, PSA is not only the company that grades the cards, they also sell the cards in their PSA vault on eBay. Arguably, those cards do not belong to PSA. They are on consignment from other third-party owners who have decided after grading to send their cards to the vault, but they still kind of control the prices. Arguably, they have an incentive to give higher grades because they are able to get a cut when they are being sold on the PSA vault. And this was the whole scandal and drama that happened recently about people sending in their cards that got graded a 9, and then PSA buys them back and then regrades them to a 10 and then sells them. So that was the whole hoo-ha that was happening. And then issue number 2 for the bear case is that this might be a SGC number 2. So I wasn't in the scene when they acquired SGC or know too much about what happened, but from what I've read is that SGC now has declined considerably because of the lack of funding or resources that the parent company collectors have been giving them or support. People might fear this might happen to Beckett also as well, but it doesn't really matter much to PSA because to them it was just could be an hostile takeover to just get rid of competition completely, and everyone will just go to PSA now because they are the one and true choice. And bear case issue number 3 is that now collectors owns essentially the 2 biggest pricing database for trader cards around the world, which is the Card Ladder, I think, and also now the Beckett Price Guide. So having 2 major players in the industry control not only the grading but also the pricing benchmarks, I would see that as a conflict of interest. This not only adds to the lack of transparency, the opaqueness behind all the card grading and the pricing, and yeah, this just only is going to amplify it. So now let's talk a little bit about the bull case, which to me, I am not so for this because I'm not so hopeful and optimistic about this, but this may happen. So bull case number 1 is that BGS might receive a lot of support and funding from PSA to help essentially grow it into the independent brand as promised. Because Beckett was not only suffering financially, their logistics was also pretty bad compared to PSA. So even though PSA is not perfect, but Beckett's is considerably worse than PSA. Bull case number 2 is that a lot of resources can be shared between PSA and Beckett to help hopefully boost up the brand also as well. And then this might hopefully lead to more consistency and more pricing fairness around grading across all companies also as well. But honestly, other than that, I can't really think about any other positives that could arise from this deal. I mean, maybe I'm not in the hobby long enough to actually understand all the inner workings of this, how this grading works, but from what I can see, this puts collectors universe and their portfolio being the one true monopoly in the whole industry, and that doesn't give a lot of options for people like us, people like me and you, who are just here to try and enjoy the hobby, occasionally grade cards, occasionally try to flip for a little bit of profit if we want to get the most out of our rare cards. So for the most part, I don't really see much of a benefit in going down this direction, and it might eventually also be the downfall of grading, or card grading might eventually reach a bubble where prices are too crazy, and then people are trying to sell off their graded cards and cause a whole bunch more of problems and unhappiness amongst hobbyists like us. This sucks for me because I wanted to start sending my cards for grading, because I haven't actually sent out any cards yet for grading. I was actually thinking of going down to one of my local card stores and sending it through them for grading, or also possibly send it myself. But I have been putting it off for quite a while now because first of all, the prices was already unfavorable for me. It was getting too inflated, especially for the one piece market. And now given this, I can only expect prices to go up even more for graded cards, in addition to the already inflated prices for the raw cards. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be sending stuff for grading right now. I may buy already graded cards that are of reasonable prices, but for the most part, I think I'm going to put off grading until this whole thing has been settled and there's a little bit more stability and a little bit less vagueness around the whole concept of grading. I feel that more companies should be able to come in and compete. So there's also like Tech, who uses AI to grade cards, but doesn't seem very popular amongst people, and there's not much liquidity for their slabs in the market also as well. Trying to get people to switch over to a different company also as well might not be easy. In fact, it might be impossible, because who is going to cross over their PSA cards into a, let's say, Tech, even though they're promised, the highest tier of Tech, because there's obviously not enough liquidity and it's not the same value as a PSA 10 compared to a Tech 10. PSA holds all the liquidity in the market, so that's going to be something very difficult for most people to do, even though they dislike PSA or now dislike Beckett or the whole collector's universe. But that's just the reality of things right now, so I'm really not sure. This is just some of my thoughts. I want to know what you think. Are you still sending in your cards for grading, or do you have a better insight on what this whole deal is going to be and how this is going to affect the grading market in the future? My opinions are maybe limited because of my inexperience in this industry, but I just want to put it out there, and hopefully someone sees it and can give me a little bit more insight on what to expect and how I should go forward, and with this hobby and grading also as well. With that, thank you for watching, and yeah, maybe a little bit unstructured right now because my thoughts are all over the place, but hopefully you don't mind, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.